Welcome to our first episode of Talk Books to Jamie. I have my sister Ashley Ludlow here with me today discussing our January book club book, which was Conform by Ariel Sullivan. This is a dystopian novel about an elite world and has a love triangle between a rebellion character and a main government character, and she's kind of in the middle and has to navigate this elite world not knowing what route she's going to go and who she's going to support. So yeah, let's dive in and talk the details and our thoughts on how this book was this month. Let's start out with this, like, the world. What did you think about the world building?
I have to say first that it's been a while since I've really gotten into fiction. So for me, this was like my first dive back into these kinds of books. Like the last time I read books like this was, I think, was in high school. Maybe I've read one or two.
Yeah.
But it's been a while. So
dystopian has definitely taken a pause. I feel like since Hunger Games and Maze Runner and Divergent came out, I mean, we haven't seen a ton of dystopian. And then just within the last year, I think like 3, 4.
yeah, because I have been reading books now, all of my feed is filled with book stuff.
Mhm.
And I heard someone say it started out in the teen genres and now it's coming back through in the adult genres where it was like kind of more fantasy and then going into dystopian, and then same with the adult books where we've seen like a resurgence in
Yeah.
fantasy and now the dystopian. And I did read Hunger Games, but this was just so different. It took, I think I remember telling you this, it took me a long time to get into this book, and I was just like, when is it going to pick up? Like,
Which is funny because you mentioned earlier that when you were kind of paging through my book, you listened via audiobook and you flipped just about what you thought would be halfway and you're like, whoa, this was happening already. So I wonder if it really took you as long to get into it, or
And by the way, I loved the person who was narrating the book. I thought that they did a great job. I don't know. Again, maybe it's just because it's been a while since I've read any kind of adult fiction. I think the feeling of the bleakness also might have felt slow to me for the start, because in the beginning of this book, it's just such a bleak reality, like just kind of a mundane existence. And it kind of just felt like, where's this going?
Yeah. Well, and I will say too, I remember the first night that I sat down to read it, I don't even think I finished the first chapter, and that's not typical for me.
Yeah. Well, and also it kind of drops you right into her job, what she's doing at her job. It reads the, and we'll talk about the differences between audio and, because I opened it up and looked at the front and I was like, oh, that's what it looks like. And there was also a map, which I didn't see. So there was a big difference between listening to it and seeing the physical book. But it dropped right into her job of what she was doing, and it was like hologram. And so at first I was thinking like Star Wars, so I wasn't sure what to expect. So it took me a minute to kind of get the bearings of like her going to her job and what her job was and how that fit into the world. And I guess that's how they have to start, right? Because you don't want a boring, like, again, it took me a minute to get into, but it wasn't boring.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was confused, I think, because I was like, what's going on?
I think with any dystopian or fantasy book, there's definitely more of a slow start just because you have to kind of understand the world they're living in. And I think even though we just dropped in with her job, I think the author did a really good job about world building during that moment. So like you talked about the holograms, where they're at, what they're wearing, it just kind of, I don't know, I instantly got vibes of the bunker that in the last Hunger Games movie, right? All I remember is they were in these like green army jumpsuits, walking around in underground like concrete things, after all, like
I remember reading the book. I can see it in my mind from the book that I read.
Yeah, and so I was very much picturing that type of world.
Me too. Yeah.
But also I will say I haven't read the Divergent book, but also Divergent, like with the city, the
crumbling,
the city line, and then like the crumbling buildings, and they're just trying to rebuild after this
lots
war,
of cement,
which I know the synopsis talks about. This is after World War III, right? Thousands of years into the future. So it's very futuristic.
And now that I've read a few other books too, I appreciate how the story building, the world building was within the context of what was happening. So it wasn't like, because some of the other books, it's like we have this whole long section of them like telling, it's almost like having to tell a prequel to what you're going to say so that you have understanding. So even though I was confused, I did appreciate that it felt like it was part of the story. And I was like, oh, that's what's happening.
It was definitely weird how we jumped in, we were there with her, but also there was a lot of that context that had to be.
Yeah, and I think it kind of made for more exciting things later, because it was like, wow, I didn't know about that. And the contrast between her world and the elite's world later was even more jarring because we didn't know what the elites had experienced because it was from her perspective.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I know, which is funny because that reminds me of how you and I visualize differently, because we had this conversation about you talking about how her life was not that bad. And I'm like, here I am picturing this little like square room she can barely move around in, that's like got the tall metal bulletproof walls, and she's getting just like this pink mush put in front of her every morning. And you're like, does she eat mush?
I was picturing like a protein smoothie or so, like a protein shake, you know, that has all of her nutrients in it. They actually have I can't remember what it's called, but there's a nutrient drink that they actually sell that has had a lot of controversy around it that reminded me of this. It's like, it's got all your nutrients in it. You don't need any food. You just drink this. And so that's what I was thinking of, like a little apartment with like a little kitchen and her bed. And I'm like a studio apartment.
I'm picturing like a
cell.
Cream of wheat. cream of wheat. I mean, not the bars, but like metal, you know, metal walls, like maybe very like almost sterile, right? Like hospital style rooms, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's what I was kind of picturing there.
Yeah, it is interesting how when we're reading, especially if it doesn't tell you exactly every single thing, we can kind of like fill in the blanks with our imagination.
Yeah, it's fun to hear the different perspectives that way. So let's talk about first impressions with Hal.
Okay.
So he's the first character that we get to meet. And I mean, you listened also, with you listening on audiobook, we know the main character. I was pronouncing Emeline.
And it's Emeline.
Emeline.
And I did hear the author say that online as well. So, because I don't know, maybe the narrator could have got it wrong, but it is Emeline. No, but it is, when I saw the written version, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, I'm glad I listened to the audiobook, because I would have been saying Emeline in my head the whole time.
Yeah. So Emeline is deleting artwork, which I literally gasped at when she deleted the Mona Lisa. I'm like, oh, we are in for it.
It was heartbreaking.
That was a pretty good grasp into the story too. Like, I was instantly like hooked on this. Okay, this is something's wrong with this world. They are trying to hide things. Like, anytime they're destroying books or destroying art, you know, we're erasing history, right?
Yeah,
we're trying.
And
to
it got more and more intense as it went on, and as she started figuring out, not necessarily that it was always a person on the screen, but that it was an emotion that would remind them of what used to be.
Because like landscapes, nature, things like that, I think were kept more often than the images that portrayed some form of human emotion.
Yeah, and relationships. Yeah. But Hal's first impression.
Let's talk about our first impression.
Honestly, I was thinking of him as like a janitor, because when he came in, so he was wearing blue, which we kind of found out what that means as she was seeing him and talking to him, and the shock of seeing him there, just because the fact that she had never seen anyone in her office ever was kind of like, I could see why she'd be so upset and startled by him. And it took me a minute to kind of get into the same place she was feeling about him, because I was like, this weird guy keeps coming by her office. And
well, and also I think that lack of connection, I mean, obviously purposely done by the Illum. I said Illum is how I was pronouncing it, but the
Illum is how they said it in
are purposely trying to make it so that they're not forming relationships, right? One of the characters that we don't meet in the story was her name Abigail?
The redhead?
Who we don't
know what happened to her. I'm hoping she comes back in the next book.
That would be exciting.
That they find
I mean, I guess my assumption was that she got eliminated, but that would be pretty cool if, you know,
she became blue and she's underground somewhere.
Another important part of the story later on. I mean, we know this is a trilogy. We've got 2 more books to get through, so there's a lot that could be unpacked later on. But just the fact that she already has that trauma from that, right? Like, you weren't allowed to form friendships with people. You weren't allowed to talk about what was going on with the elites in the sky. You just basically did your work in isolation with nobody there, and went home and slept.
And I feel like that kept her from opening herself up to people too, because I think she really cared about her, and I think that made her very hesitant to really open up who she actually was to anybody else. Yeah.
And I know she talks specifically with Lo, not to her, but about that situation, and her internal monologue was very much so, I've got to be careful what I say to her. I don't know when it's too much. It was constantly an internal battle of wanting to talk about these things, wanting to voice her concerns, and then also we can't talk about this.
Yeah.
We can't be seen together. They can't know she's sneaking in to my room at night to talk about the day.
Right. I'm making a face because I get angry as we go through the book with this character, the main protagonist, because she can't seem to like keep her mouth shut or like read the room.
Yes.
Like she just always says what she's thinking,
Which
no
is...
matter, to her detriment, to everybody's detriment around her. And yeah, we have a lot to dig into.
Yes.
I mean, it was
you
a lot.
You have a lot of strong opinions about that.
Yeah. And we have very different opinions about the whole thing, which actually taught me more about myself, which I don't know if is a good thing or not. We'll get to that. What was your first impression?
So I kind of, and this is to my own detriment, because I've read a lot of books, I always, it just kind of happens to be that whoever this first character is, the first male that gets introduced, it's hard to know whether they're going to stick around, right? And so, I mean, my first impressions were, okay, he's going to be some form of interest with her. They're going to build some form of relationship, but he was blonde. And he was he was the first man you meet. And anytime they're blonde and the first man you meet, something bad happens. There's some kind of disruption in the relationship, and typically they end up going for the darker, more evil seeming one. It's just is how a lot of the books I've read.
It's a trope.
And so when I heard that he had blonde hair and he was the first man introduced, I kind of was like, oh. But I will say throughout the book, I was very, very team Hal. But I think it was just because, I mean, you have these two separate worlds, right? So Collin, you've got Collin, who we find out is in the Illum,
yes,
part of the Illum.
He's like the youngest member, the newest member.
And then you have this very contrasting.
They're polar opposites of each other.
Yes. So yeah, you've got
and the
leader of the Illum, and then you've got
he's not the leader.
Oh yes.
You have a
member,
leadership position.
You have a member of the Illum, which is like the highest of the elite society, basically their government, right? Like a member of the government of this society.
It was almost like a god situation. They're like the gods.
They were the ones that created.
They reminded me of the Volturi.
Yes.
From Twilight.
Yeah.
Like they're
like President Snow in Hunger Games, right?
Like they can make executive decisions and do whatever they want and have no morals.
They were the ones for the idea of this world. They were the ones that created it.
And are controlling everything. Yeah.
And then you've got Hal, who obviously plays a very big role in the rebellion. I mean, he never really admitted to what extent. I got leader vibes off of him, but we don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely think that the author wants us to believe.
I think so too.
That he's the leader of the rebellion, but yeah.
We'll talk about a little bit later towards when we get to the end of the book why I started to think, no, there's no way that's him, right? Because something big happens at the end. So we'll get there. But so the structure, right? You've got your Illum. I'm gonna struggle with that the whole time. We've got our audiobook reader and our physical copy reader. So you have them, right? And how many are there? 6 members? I believe it was six members. I want to say only 2 are mentioned. We've got Tabitha, who is the main, right? Like she reminds me so much of Four's mother in Divergent. And if you haven't seen that doesn't help you. But the blonde lady in the blue suit, right? The one.
She reminds me of I know who you're talking about, but she reminds me of Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter. Every time that's who I pictured.
That's so funny. Anyway. I was picturing from the movie Divergent, the one that in the final movie we found out didn't have the best intentions, right? And that's the vibe I was getting, right? She has this world she's created. And I also think it's odd they talk about how she's been around basically forever. So I'm wondering if there's got to be some form of how is she keeping herself alive when everybody else is not. There's something different there. I don't know if we're going to see magic or some kind of science type.
How old was Collin? Because didn't they say they had been alive for a long time? Were they all old?
I did not pay close enough attention to ages, so don't ask me on that. But I know they mentioned that I thought she specifically had been around for quite some time.
Yeah, so they have, and then we have the Illum.
Yep.
Then we have the elite,
and they live in the clouds, right? And
then you have the minor defects and the major defects. So with the minor defect community, I thought it was interesting how they knew so little about the elite society, and what they did know was something they desired. Like it was something that they wanted, and
they
to have
educated them so differently, right? Like, so they have the academy, and I'm picturing it like, green grass on one side, dead grass gray on the other, this split building. But you have the elites being taught in one side, they're segregated.
Yeah.
And then you've got the defects, the minor defects.
Mm-hmm.
And they just basically were taught, if you do not make it to the clouds for your purpose, whether it's serving the elite or whether it's being chosen to mate.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you fail at either of those jobs,
Right.
then essentially you're cast into this major defect and
Right.
you are in low town, which then we later find out they don't actually live, they're underground.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we also discover it's not so bad of a place after all.
no.
Because they were, she believed that it was this
Mhm.
horrible, like, nobody wants to go there.
And they're going to teach the narrative that they want carried out.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So yeah, that was an interesting thing to like have unfold in the book. So then we find out that she is chosen to mate.
She's
It's her
selected as a
time.
mate. Yes.
Yeah.
And she not only is selected to mate, which is any elite,
Mhm.
she meets Collin and finds out he is the youngest member of the
Illum. Yes.
which
at first seems awesome, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, an Illum chose me, you know?
well, and I don't know, I almost was the opposite, where I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of scary. Like,
Yeah. There was a little bit of ominous.
especially like just most of the main female characters in these books, they definitely are more free thinkers. They don't
Mhm.
want to be told what to do, which I resonate with 100%. I'm a free spirit. I'm like, you don't tell me what I'm thinking and what I need to do. And so I'm definitely one more to run my mouth. And so
Mhm.
I always resonate really well with these characters, where you on the other side are like, okay, tone it down. We've gotta.
I just feel like, and as we get further into the book with Collin, like, her not giving him a chance and her defiance, I think, put the nail in the coffin for that relationship. I think and maybe I'm wrong, but this is my perspective on it. I think if she would have given that relationship more of a chance instead of completely, I feel like she just wrote that off as like a side thing, that she wasn't going to get to stay in that relationship, which is true because
they're taught that, right? They're taught
they
that
have
they're
4
there.
years or whatever.
They have 4 years with the kids, and
Mhm.
then they can.
And especially after she saw what happens after the
Mhm.
4 years, which she didn't
Yeah.
know because they don't teach you that until it happens
Yeah.
to you, and then it's like traumatizing. But I just felt like there was a switch that turned in Collin after something she said. There was like a conversation or something that happened that she really made him angry. Like, she just was like, he was trying. I felt like he was trying in the beginning. I felt like he was so kind and so gentle, and I don't think it was a farce.
And see, I went through kind of a roller coaster. So my first impressions of Collin were, this is a little suspicious. I just was getting vibes of he's putting on a facade, right? He's pretending and leaning into her narrative to get more out of her, and I think that's why I was kind of more like, oh, careful. And so like we meet these Starlings, right? That she goes up and I instantly thought, First they remind me of Effie. Oh, they reminded me of Effie. I'm picturing Effie up there.
Yeah.
Getting her all dressed, waxing her, getting her all beautified in these colorful outfits, these gowns. But I knew, I said, okay, something's going to happen to one of them.
I was shocked when you said that too, because I was further ahead in the book than you, and I didn't say anything. But I was like, how did she know that? Because I did not get those vibes at all.
I was picturing, and I don't remember his name, from Hunger Games, the one that gave her the mockingbird pin and made her outfits how he got beat in front of her, right?
Yeah, that was awful.
I'm like, this is round 2. Here we go. Like, I just felt like something's gonna give.
I was pretty mad when she went to Collin and started talking about what the Starlings had told her in the dressing room, because I'm like, what are you doing?
Like, she was way too trusting,
too trusting,
right?
of him.
Yeah. And I will agree with you that on that aspect is I did feel like, okay, there's some things you just keep to yourself, right? Especially if you're wanting to be part of some kind of resistance or rebellion, right? Like revolution.
I don't know if she knew at that time that she wanted, whether there was anything happening. I think she was kind of oblivious to it. She was trying to coax it out of Rose and Violet, but they weren't really saying anything.
And I honestly think Rose and Violet were 2 of my favorite characters out of the book. They are so sweet.
Violet more so than Rose. Rose was really snippy, but Rose reminded me, actually, not in character, like emotions and like personality, but in visually, I could picture her as Alice from Twilight, like just like pixie cut, like except I think she was blonde, but anyway, like just like kind of more fairy-esque.
One of them, I'm pretty sure was a person of color, and the other one was blonde, and I don't remember which one, but yes, that I think that Rose just had a very protective nature. I think she definitely wasn't Violet seemed more naive,
Mhm.
right? And Rose,
I don't know though. She later in the book, she didn't. I think she knew what she was doing. Like I think she was just more
what's the
okay
word?
with it. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. Like she was just more ready
More
to face
daring,
it.
right?
Yeah.
She's more daring. I think she was more ready to see change happen. She
Mhm.
probably was a little bit more fed up, where Rose was more wanting to protect.
Right. Rose was like
I,
trying to hide from it.
I am the Violet. You are.
Well,
the
and it
Rose.
makes sense once you
In
find
that
out,
perspective.
right? Yeah, it makes sense once you find out about their relationship
Yes,
too, because
yes.
they weren't just trying to protect themselves, but each other.
Yeah.
So that was sad.
And being a defect, if you can find a place where you can spend time with the person you care about
Yeah.
in this elite world, that's something to hold on to. And I
Yeah.
think she had more of the attitude, like you talked about, where just be grateful for what you have and take whatever you can give. Where Violet definitely was more like, no, we can have better, and I'm willing to give my life
Yeah.
for other people to have better.
Let's talk about the difference between the way we thought about the lead character and the choices that she made. Because it was quite different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
You more so on the outspoken side and me more on the conforming side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a part of it, just to my credit, because I know that that's
the book
it's
title
the opposite
is
of what
literally Conform.
It's the opposite of what the book is probably meant to convey.
Yes.
For me, I'm a strategist, so in my brain I'm always thinking of the long game, which is why I was like, why would she jump to conclusions so quickly with Collin? Why would she say that? Because I'm thinking, like, even if she wasn't like in love with him, even if she didn't want that relationship to be like a real relationship, the fact that she was so brash and just like saying everything she felt, to me felt short-sighted. I thought if you can just look ahead at what's going to happen to you the next even less than a year, like from now, you're in a contract, you signed a contract. Do you want this to be a pleasant experience or not pleasant experience? You can either gain trust, and maybe that makes me a manipulative thinker, but like if she could gain trust with him, and maybe the romantic side of it was, I was thinking, maybe if she would have given him more of a chance, that could have blossomed and he could have secretly been on her side and been in the Illum, but as like a, and I know you don't think Collin's
take
like
it down
that.
from within,
Right.
And
I feel like you think opposite of Collin though than me.
Well, and I didn't really get to that yet, but I kind of got distracted talking about Rose and Violet. But
Your favorite.
Collin definitely came off, I don't know, just a little too perfect, a little too, his words just were everything she needed to hear, right? And it felt to me like he was purposely trying to get her to open up, and I was worried about the consequences of that. I was like, he's trying to weed out whether she's going to conform or whether she's going to be a free thinker. And I mean, what did they always say? Can I talk plainly to you? Right. And he was always like, please always talk plainly to me. And I'm like, okay, but no.
Right.
Like, you should not be talking plainly to him. But I will say the second dinner that they went to, and I think she had signed the contract by then.
The kiss dinner,
the one. Yes. Yeah. I kind of was starting to warm up to him. Yeah. And the reason why is her family. The way that he treated, the way he defended her to her family was big for me. But then also, I mean, I don't know how far we're jumping in here. I'm assuming most people watching this have read the book. When that turn happened, where he did end up, there were consequences for her actions, and he did make her be a part of their decision to eliminate someone and made her watch that. Yeah. Then I kind of turned again, right?
Well, that was the turning point for Collin, because you can't go back from that. Like, there's no, like, in this context of everything he knows from what she's divulged to him about who she is, I feel like that was a vengeance thing. I feel like he was like, you're going to talk like that, or you're going to be like that, and this is what you're going to get. And that's where my strategist from before was like, see?
I told you so.
I told you because
see, where I was more mad at Collin in that situation, right? Because I'm thinking, here you are preaching one thing to her, but then exactly what I thought was going to happen was going to happen. So I think it validated those initial, my first impression of him turned out to be true in my mind, right?
I thought it was because of her actions that he did that. Like, the way that it was, there was a conversation that happened right after that, because they had been talking. She asked him, like, do you believe in this, or do you believe in this? And he was like, no.
That was one of the first conversations I had.
I don't believe in that. I want to stand up for
a member of the Illum. Yeah. Like, are you backing them? Do you agree with what they do? And he was like, no. So like, no, I'm.
And then, but I feel like because of him either catching her doing weird things or her saying, I can't remember exactly. It's been a minute. You know,
so like, it was the whistle. right? So
Yeah,
she had
well.
started to form this relationship with Hal, and became aware of the signal to let us know
Mhm.
when other people are involved. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's been a
Yeah, but
while
it
since
was
we've read it.
before it was the things that happened in her interactions with Colin and the things that she said. Do you remember him getting like angry with her? Like I just remember him being kind of irritated and sending her away and like all these things happening where she was kind of being condescending and like
Mhm.
in my opinion kind of stepping out of her place
Yeah. She
to
definitely,
say things.
and I
And I
wasn't
feel like it
sure if that
clicked.
happened before or after.
I just feel
I'm
like
gonna
it
have to.
changed him. And then he said after that happened, she said, I thought that you didn't believe in doing this. And he's like, well, that was before.
Oh yeah.
So there was something that happened, and I don't
I think
remember.
on their way to what was going to happen, I want to say they did. I wasn't it in one of the elevators. They were having an
Maybe.
argument. I don't. It's
I can't imagine it being the same time, the same day though, because I think that was a premeditated thing. I think that whole meeting was
Mhm.
premeditated. And I just remember the time that they met before that something bad
Okay.
happened. But I don't remember. It's
the timeline.
we should have read it again. I feel like if we read it again, it'll give us even more
Yeah.
insights.
Well, and when the second book comes out, we can do a
Yes,
reread.
that's right.
Catch things maybe we didn't catch the first time. But let's talk about Emmeline's family. So
Yeah.
she's got a very dysfunctional mixing pot type family situation going on. Her father did choose to keep his mate for multiple children, right?
Yeah.
So she's got 3 brothers.
I never thought about that
Mhm.
because they like could have
Yeah.
interchanged, but they chose to stay together, which is kind of strange actually.
Yeah.
in
Well, and I think, I mean, her dad knew what he had, right? Her
Mhm.
mom was very conforming.
I was
very,
just she didn't ruffle any.
Yeah, you sit, you stay quiet, you do what you're asked, and you survive, right?
Yeah.
Like that was her attitude.
Yeah.
And they went on to have 3 elite sons that were older than
Well, Philip,
Emeline. Philip,
Gregory, what was the other one?
was it Richard?
Maybe there was one of
Was
them
it
that we didn't
R?
really.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot about that one. So Philip was the one. He was
He
one of
worked with
Collin's
Collin.
like advisor
Mhm.
almost.
He was like the suck up to the Illum.
Yeah,
Like he
yeah.
wanted to like get on the good side of them, and they were.
Speaking of contrasting brothers too, right? We've got these contrasting love interests, and then you have the brothers that are
On
have
opposite
very
ends,
polar
yeah.
opposite ends. Because then you have Gregory, who
Is like my favorite character
yes,
in the whole book.
yes, he's very like I think I remember when she first showed up to that dinner with the family that
Yeah.
Collin wasn't able to make, and thinking like I couldn't read him. I
Yeah.
was like, okay.
At first, I was like, "Is he joking?"
Prodigal son a little bit here, like you can tell, but then also I'm like, does he like her or does he not? Like
Right.
I felt like he's either being really mean or he's
Mhm.
like
teasing.
teasing.
Yeah.
Yes, like that very
Which I'm
much
happy it
teasing.
ended up being the latter.
And I would agree. I think Gregory's one of my favorite characters, but you have him who's definitely he's living in this world, but he doesn't agree with it, right?
Yeah.
And he's really I mean, there was multiple times where he was punished in a sense.
Yeah. And he
ways-
went out of his way and into dangerous situations to make sure she was okay
Yeah.
and getting her home safe and
Mhm.
even coming to like, bring her back
Yeah.
when things were going on.
Mhm.
So
he kind of was that bridge between the two worlds for her, right?
and the reason why the resistance I think was so hard for her to fully commit to because of him and because of Nora, which we haven't
Yeah.
talked about yet,
Yeah. But her dad,
yes. Oh my gosh, what an evil guy.
He was probably my least favorite character of the
Yeah.
whole book. He was rude.
You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Edric.
Yes, Powerless.
Yeah.
If you're a Powerless fan, yes, the king. Very, very similar
Yeah.
characters.
Like power is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And control
yes,
and being
your
the status. Yeah.
your status in this
Mhm.
world, right? Emeline was very unique in the fact that she had a visual defect, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, instantly as she's born,
It's obvious.
it's obvious. The dad doesn't want anything to do with her. The mom is the one who ultimately ends up keeping her around longer than the dad
and making
wanted.
sure she wasn't eliminated.
Yes. So I mean,
and I was surprised that she didn't know as much as she did about her family. Like it took her a long time to kind of pull from her dad and brothers and her mom, like what was going on.
Memories were all just being in a room, right?
Right.
And hearing her parents argue on the other side of the door. I mean, she didn't even know she had brothers.
Right.
until
Yeah, that was shocking too.
Collin was the one that told her she had brothers, and she only, I mean, she ran into the one, right?
Yeah.
Philip. She ran into Philip at one point when they had shut down some form of transportation.
Yeah,
and
and
they
the
were all
elites had to
stuck
come
in
down
the
to the
atrium, and they were like,
Mhm.
"What are all these elites doing?" And I mean, even in that moment, he was kind of like, you know,
Like,
not
get away from
yeah,
me, you
like
defect.
gross,
Like,
you're a defect.
did
Even
they know? The brothers didn't know, right?
no, I think
Philip did
Philip
know.
knew. Yes,
Mm.
Philip knew, because he works
I
so
don't think
closely with
Gregory
Collin.
knew
I don't know that they knew.
because Gregory was like, "So I guess you're my sister
Yeah,
or something."
yeah. But I know that Philip knew because he was involved in all those decisions.
Yeah, that's true.
Similarly to the end of the book, I mean, so Nora, we've got Nora, who's Colin's sister, who, you know, her and Gregory kind of had this fun banter, and Philip admits that he even had the option to be mated to her, right?
Yeah.
And he chose not to
to,
because he
yeah.
knew how Gregory felt. I feel like Philip is definitely involved in all the workings of this, so he knew who she was.
Yeah.
He just chose to kind of, which I didn't appreciate.
Are we talking about Nora now? Because I have feelings.
Okay. Well, did we wrap up everything on we want to
The
talk
brothers?
about
The family?
the dad and the family?
Well,
the
let's
brothers,
talk
the
about the
dinner.
mom because that was a little heartbreaking. I think as a mother, it was hard. First of all, I don't know. You know, we don't live in the society from this book, so I don't know what that would be like or how, especially where
it almost seemed like it reminded me a lot of abusive relationship, right? There's this male figure,
and she just
we
stays
don't
quiet.
Know, we don't know what happens behind closed door, right? We don't know the extent of the abuse. For sure, emotional,
right?
For sure, emotional. But there could be more there. I mean, this is kind of a society where, I mean, you get eliminated for any mistakes you make. So I'm sure these men in this society have free will to do what they will with these defect mates that they have. But yeah, it was kind of heartbreaking. There was one line she said at that dinner, right? So they meet, Emeline's going to this dinner with her family, and
the first time they met, or the when she went to their house without Collin?
When she went to their house. I guess I didn't talk about the first time. We didn't really go a lot into details.
Well, we talked about the kiss slightly, like barely.
We've been all over the place. We brushed it, but there was one line at the dinner that she goes to when Collin wasn't there, and did not go like they thought they would go, right? The dad wants to dismiss her as soon as Collin's not able to come, and Gregory brings her in, kind of takes her under her wing a little bit. We start to get to see a little bit of his character and how he stands up a little bit, you know.
Well, he was happy to not be the only black sheep of the family, you know.
But I don't remember exactly what it was that I think it was telling the other defects that were serving them, like, thank you, and communicating with them, really upset the father. And they kind of got into, she was speaking freely to her father about how she felt about his opinions. And towards the end, when she got really angry and went to go leave, the mom, and I need to quote it, but the mom said something about, like, I regret like standing up for you, like I should have never fought for you, kind of thing, like that. I feel like that was kind of the idea. Those weren't the exact words she used. I don't remember if you remember that part, but
I know, I'm like, well, I do remember her being upset.
She makes a little comment, like a little jab towards the end that really, I think, affects.
Isn't that the reason she like leaves crying?
Yeah,
I mean, she
just
runs home
off,
crying,
runs home
into
her
Hal's
dress and
arms.
heels. Yeah,
Hal like picks her up.
Yeah, which I thought was so.
How did he know? Well, and
I just remember
the dress.
thinking that
There's
was
so many things about that night.
Yeah, her dress.
Yeah, I thought that was so sweet that he was there and he happened to see her, and
then hindsight to later find out that she was aware that he was there, and
that was all orchestrated.
Yeah,
imagine that. It was so sweet in the moment, though.
It was. I think that was one of the really turning points for me with being Team Hal. I was very Team Hal, and then he ended up staying with her that night and
being so sweet and like consoling her, even though he was the cause of some of the pain. Because I mean, obviously, if you're watching this far, there's the blue dress was sent by Hal. So like, we didn't know who it was sent by.
Major defects were blue, and when she was getting ready for that dinner, she wore a blue dress.
There was like a box that came in. It was like
with a collar, right? Like it had a collar, almost like as if like showing a sign. Yeah, it was definitely like you're on a leash. So, and to later find out that. Through word of mouth. I mean, I guess I'm still unsure. Maybe it's what I almost wonder sometimes if Tabitha created that narrative that Hal was behind the dress to get an emotional reaction out of Emeline at the end of the story.
Yeah, maybe.
But either way, if he was behind it, that's and maybe it wasn't necessarily. I think at first, I mean, she was kind of a project to him, right? We later, towards the end of the book, the betrayal.
Yep.
I mean,
the sad betrayal, the very tropey betrayal.
Yeah.
Of
her choosing, you know, towards the end,
her choosing Hal, wishing she could live with him, leaving everything behind
throughout the whole book, right?
Yeah.
And you've got these two characters, and I feel like she fully commits to him. She gives herself to him. She is ready to
spend the whole rest of her
to have
existence with him,
have her chip taken out,
Yep.
and to just stay with him, and to then walk out. And this you think this is the stupidest?
It just makes me angry. Like, if he, okay, first of all, I have a couple things about this. So she finds this notebook journal thing that like has all of these notes about her and her past, and like has notes to himself about like how to manipulate her and how to you know, how to get information from, I almost said the Capitol, from the Illum. And you know, she finds it on the kitchen table, like, or something, on the counter.
Get close to her, make her care work from the inside.
Yeah.
Like,
and like so, like her favorite things, and like, yeah, anyway, so, and remember how he was like telling her how beautiful her defect was and how much he loved it, and that was like written in there, like make her love her defect or whatever. And so, and obviously when she sees this, she feels completely destroyed and betrayed, and obviously this changes the dynamic between them for the rest of their lives, probably, but the rest of the book certainly. And what I don't understand is two things. Number one, why did he leave it on the counter? Like, he brought her over. He brought her into, maybe he wasn't, I know it wasn't really planned, them coming into his house, or his room, whatever, that he shares with like a million people. But there's I have so many other thoughts, but I'm just going to focus on this journal. So why did he leave it out? And why was it out if this was something that he planned a long time ago and then changed his mind because he fell in love with her? Because it seems like over the course of the months, or however long, it had been like 2 months, right? Because she was almost in the third month of the...
it was the 3 lunar cycles, the 3 months. And the last month...
They court. So it's like her and Collin were supposed to court.
The first 2 months are courting, and then, I mean, she was getting to the point where she was going to be moving in. He had her room ready at his apartment, right? She was going to be moving in, and trying for
their baby. So why was the journal out 2 months into their relationship when he knew he loved her? He brought her back to his house to show her that he loved her. And why was that still out? That's my question. Why was that sitting on the counter? Because to me, that insinuates that he was regularly referring to it or using it in some way. And so to me, that makes it harder to trust him, even if he said, oh, that was a long, like if it was in the bottom of a drawer somewhere, I don't know.
To be right out there on the
counter. Be just on the counter. That means...
Did they have drawers? Did they have furniture?
I don't know, but under a pillow or under the bed or something.
That...
Did you also think it was weird that him and his roommate, who was a girl, shared a bed?
Yeah.
I'm like...
Well, I don't know if it was a bed, but they shared a room.
But there was only one bedroom, or there was only one bed in the room, wasn't there?
I thought there was... I was under the impression, I'm picturing different, like, you know, bed rolls. Just
maybe. Could be.
About. But
So there really is no under the bed. There's no, like, frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to picture. I was picturing, like, a very grubby, kind of hole-in-the-wall apartment-y.
See, I'm like... underground. I'm picturing like cave. Like we're walking through cave. We're walking through cave tunnels here.
Yeah. Well, they said he had a couch.
Like, well, yeah, but I was picturing like rock walls, but then also, you know, like like they're bringing garbage in, right? Yeah. They're getting everything that the elite is throwing away.
I was also seeing like yellow, like lantern-y kind of colors, like
like dim, definitely dim. But also on that note of the betrayal, getting
so angry.
The portrait. She doesn't ever get gifted this portrait.
That's right. We never, did we get to see what it was?
It is one of the portraits that they looked at together and dissected.
Does it say which one?
It does. Remember. It refers to which one. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I want to say
it was one of the lovey ones, right?
Yeah.
Like where
it was some, I want to say it was like with rocks and water and like landscape. And then there was, two people in it. Wasn't there? I don't remember.
I feel bad that for not knowing that.
That was because that's what he was going to get when she discovered the file, and that was heartbreaking to me. Yeah. Because if he didn't care about her, he wouldn't have tried to get that. But it was one that she had a hard time deleting. Well, make her care. Her care.
But how did he get that too? Like if it was deleted.
Well, and that's one of the comments he made. Like she brought up a lot of times this, and he talks about how they get the trash.
That's true. and they preserved it, which I really loved. I grew to really respect the major defects and their world because I feel like they were the most human of all of them.
Yeah. I mean, they had a whole rave going down there all the time. That's what I was picturing in the middle of this mountain with different tunnels going off of it. They've got a full on mosh pit, music playing.
I was picturing John Hamm.
Yes.
Come on, baby,
Yes.
turn the light.
Oh, yeah. But I think that moment in Hal's betrayal is when he kind of came unredeemable to me.
That was hard.
As being the main love interest moving forward. I don't know that that's something that they would ever be able to move past.
Yeah. Trust is a hard thing. So now you were talking about this after we both had finished reading it, about not knowing how she could choose either of them, right?
Yeah.
And so you're thinking maybe in the next novel there might be a third
main love
character.
interest maybe comes in. That's not typical to the trope I'm used to that I talked about in the beginning. Usually you have the two and then you go more towards the other, but I could see.
But we don't know why Hal did what he did either. Like we don't know what we think it's because he's the leader of the resistance, but
let's talk about the ending because there's part of me in the ending that makes me think that Collin maybe is starting to care a little too much, right? Yeah. He's leaning more into his emotions. So, I mean, I feel like he was a roller coaster in himself. First, I'm suspicious about him. Then I love how he sticks up for his family. He shows he cares. It seemed to me like, I mean, Nora, she was constantly bringing Emeline back to the apartment, right? That was
and they became pretty close.
Yes, and regardless of whether she had her lens in so that you couldn't see her visual defect with
Nora never
the
balked
blue and brown eyes. No, she was, and neither did Collin. Really, there were times where she had gotten brought to him in his apartment, disheveled and wearing whatever, and he always.
That's why
he always seemed to want to fight for that, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I felt like he was asking for something she'd never be able to give him, right?
Yeah.
But I think it got to the point, I don't think Emeline ever cared for him.
Which is upsetting.
I definitely...
Very upsetting to me.
Yet. Maybe. We'll see what happens, but I definitely felt like as it went on, the reason why he straight up said it, I don't get mad like this with other people, right? Like...
He cares, I don't think he was expecting...
all the time. And I think that he loved this part of her that he knew couldn't fit in his world, and he was trying so hard to fit the two together. Yeah. And at the end, so we have this Reaper character, right? That is the main person who is causing fires, killing elites, just kind of,
causing chaos too.
Chaos within this elite world.
Like it felt like purposely poking the bear. Yeah. That's what it felt like. And I know they're trying to disarm the entire governmental, the whole infrastructure and prove a point. Yeah. But to me, it didn't feel very...
It was fighting fire with fire. Yeah. You've got two extremes, right? You've got them... I mean, I think Emeline literally said it towards the end, and she makes some comment about how... And maybe she didn't, maybe this is my own inner monologue, but how basically you are the same as them, right? Like you're...
Yeah. I think she internally said they're the same in different...
Just in different worlds, different, right? Because they're both killing people. Spectrums. They're both fighting against each other, and I think Emeline wants to find this middle ground, right? Yeah. She wants to be able to bridge both worlds, because now she has that close relationship with Nora. I mean, they ate chocolate together. They just were these little besties that grew, that were building that relationship, and I hope that continues in book 2. I want to see how Gregory, Nora, and Emeline's
relationship progresses.
The dynamic between them and even Collin. But at the end, when they catch, or they assume they've caught the Reaper,
and they say that we've caught the Reaper.
And Emeline, I think, was so set that it was Hal, and I felt like the author
she even told Violet that it was
Hal, yes. Yeah. And then remember Hal's reaction. I mean, Violet's reaction.
Yeah,
saying,
she was like, huh?
Hal?
Right.
So that reaction led me to believe that Hal wasn't the Reaper. And also the fact that they caught Hal at the end thinking they got the Reaper. I don't think he's the Reaper,
The author really wants you to think that Hal is the Reaper, but we don't know. And the other thing that we have talked about before, you brought up that I didn't really think about, which is that potentially they're all kind of in cahoots, right? The elites and the and Collin,
Yeah.
because they went to school with Hal before he
Yes.
was a defect.
And I even think that conversation she's having with Nora at the end before that
Yeah.
last ball.
And Nora's not against the resistance. Like she almost was like, I would if I could, but my kids, like,
well, and
what do they call them? Offspring.
and even which that's a whole nother thing we haven't even unpacked is Nora and her relationships and her kids.
And why is she so unfortunate to do? I feel like they did that on purpose to her. Like she got so many bad partners.
Like, it's like Gregory talked about. Like, why didn't they just let them be together?
Right.
Because you can't have
they purposely
love, you can't have happiness.
You lose control if you allow people to have what they want.
Yes. You have to control the dynamic.
Because that's why Nora won't join the resistance.
Yeah, it's because of the kids. She's
because of the
kids.
offspring.
But I've had a follower tell me she thinks Nora is the Reaper.
Interesting.
And because of that last conversation.
Yeah.
Because do you remember in that conversation that she has with Emeline? This is where she mentions it, I think. Emeline tells Nora that she's not okay with the way that the Reaper is doing things, right? She essentially is saying he's being the same way as the Illum, and Nora makes a comment about how I think it's valid. I think the way the Reaper acts is valid, and I think somebody in the wording, which I don't have in front of me right now, but in the wording, it led one of my followers to think that that might be her.
Yeah.
But then you think when the big last hurrah, when Emeline plays a part in this, right, by climbing through the rafters, they're trying to shut down the grid essentially, and they do for a period of time.
She climbs into that. I forgot she climbs through that weird through with one of Hal's friends, one of Hal's buddies.
Yeah, and Hal was very against.
But he was very injured, which was another reason why we thought he might be the Reaper, because the Reaper was injured.
Yeah, he got pinned between a door when the elite came and busted underground at some point.
And so they were desperate because of a timing issue, and she had to sneak in and set the bomb.
She was the smallest size to go in and set the bomb. And when all this was going on, Nora and Gregory were back at Collin's apartment.
Having a good old time.
That's the only reason why I personally am like, okay, Nora couldn't be the Reaper because she was having too much fun with Gregory at the apartment. Unless that was staged and they both were involved. And then they ran, like, as soon as they got to the end, they tried to stage something. An
alibi. Yeah. I don't know.
It's hard saying, but
I never thought it until you mentioned that. It never crossed my mind that Nora could potentially be the Reaper. I don't think she has enough connections with anybody in that district.
Well, and I feel like she definitely is trying. We're not in Hunger Games.
I know. I keep saying the capital and the district.
The major defects. She definitely is wanting to conform to save her offspring, right? So she has a daughter who's getting close to like 16, 17, right? And when Emeline does the math, that it tells her that Nora also, she's thinking Nora
got started real young.
She got thrown in,
which is disturbing.
Yes, at a really young age, and she doesn't want the same thing to happen to her daughter. So I think she's trying to live this very quiet lifestyle, not draw attention to herself, to avoid her children being used against her.
Which again, I think is more of like along the lines of what I would do because of preservation of self and people that you love, even if it means, not on the right side of things. Visually anyway. Like you said, I think she's still, her beliefs are still that what's happening is not okay, but she kind of is resigned to not do anything about it.
It gets used against her.
Yeah,
multiple times. Collin brought up multiple times in the book. They'll go after your offspring. Philip threatens Gregory. Says you better leave Nora alone unless you want something happening to her offspring. Like this is held, her own childhood trauma, right, is held against her in the form of it possibly being the cycle being repeated with her daughter. Yeah,
and not only, like, I think I just barely pieced this together, but because they're in control of who is mated with whom, her daughter could be purposefully mated with someone in the same way that she was, someone who would abuse her and hurt her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was so sad. Something that happened that Gregory got involved with. Where did Gregory wear his blue suit? To that meeting. Where they eliminated.
Oh, was he there for that? I forgot about that.
He was wearing a blue suit, and Emeline assumed it was in punishment for her in her blue dress.
But I think maybe he did it on purpose.
You think he did it on purpose?
I think he
thought
did it
was
to
asked
spite,
to-
like,
to
was
wear
he?
it.
Was he? I don't remember.
I
See,
don't
I need to
know.
reread it. Anyway,
Mm.
I did enjoy it, but I was really upset by the ending.
Yes.
I feel like the whole book, I was expecting to be able to at least last the 3 lunar cycles.
Yeah.
And so the fact that the book abruptly stops before we even
Yeah.
get to the point of her moving in and like
Mhm.
starting that part of her journey was kind of, I don't know. It was weird to me. I was expecting that to be a part of it, and it just wasn't. Like, it was this whole other thing. And
It did seem very abrupt that all of a sudden they had Hal
yeah.
at this ball, right? It ended at the ball.
Yeah.
And Nora and Emeline are being rushed to get ready after, they're disheveled.
Yeah.
They're very emotionally
Mhm.
raw from everything that has happened and led up with the attack, and the blackout or the grid shutting down. And then Tabitha, the head person, wants this ball put together. But circling back in that moment with the ball and her having Hal, there's a moment when Tabitha and Emeline are alone at the end of the book. And I don't know if you got this, but from reading, I mean, essentially it felt like she was going to hold Emeline against Collin to keep Collin in line.
Exactly. Yeah, because she could tell that Collin, like you said, Collin cares.
Which circles back to that conversation we were having about him caring. Yeah,
Mhm.
like I think that he is willing to start bending the rules for her, and
Yep.
he did. He was saying she was a spy, and that's why she was sneaking underground, not that she
Yeah,
was
he
going
lied
to see
for her.
Hal.
Yeah.
And
Which is wild because
and wasn't Collin the one? Moonlight was the nickname that Hal always called her,
Mhm.
and wasn't Collin the one? I think it was a little bit in spite that he called her Moonlight right before the ball, but also in warning.
Yeah.
Like Moonlight. Oh, we
do you think though?
to prepare her. Remember, because he kept saying, "You are a spy."
Right.
Like, I think he was trying to, in some way,
Don't
prepare
forget,
her
yeah.
for this ball, and knowing that Tabitha was going to come in, and I mean, Tabitha really played this narrative, even though she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
She played this narrative to the elite society that.
Oh, thank you,
Thank
Emeline.
you for going underground and going undercover
Emeline is the
and
reason
finding the Reaper for
that we
us.
caught the Reaper.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then basically telling her, I know your dirty secrets, get in line.
Well, I feel like by the time of the ball, it was like, I think Collin had been told by the Illum that she had been with Hal. And I think that's why he was nasty to her at the end, because they were supposed to be mated. And even though that doesn't mean anything like what marriage would to us in our world, I think it still was heartbreaking to him because he cared for her.
Yeah.
And so it's a really rough way to end a book because they're both on bad terms with her. She's on bad terms with both of them. And she's heartbroken and distressed and just pulled from what could have been, again, from my strategic brain, what could have been a normal experience for her turned into this awful, awful thing because of all the stuff that happened. But, who knows? I think that the stuff with the resistance probably would have happened with or without her, just in a different way. And so she would have been affected by it in another way.
Didn't Violet once tell her, like,
are you in or out?
Are you in or out?
Are you
with
us?
It, right?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know how she could have said, I don't know how Emeline could have said that she wasn't in.
Yeah.
After everything she knew and everything she saw as a defect.
It's that whole idea of know better, do better, right? Like, you know too much.
You know what we didn't talk about that we need to cover is Lo. Because her betrayal.
Yes.
She's the reason.
She's the one that
the Illum found out.
Yes, because
they bought her out.
Yeah, Emeline went to her. Oh, and her being mated to Gregory. We haven't even touched that. So she is selected and mated with Emeline's brother. I mean, talk about all these
like, that's your brother? He's hot.
That's how she sounded. We've got love triangles everywhere. Like, everything is intersecting.
And we also didn't talk about how the Illum drugged the minor defects. And they weren't even, I mean, Lo wasn't even herself anymore, I don't think. And she kept telling her, don't take the
Emeline
vitamins.
Had stopped taking all of her supplements that were given to her. And that was something she threw at Collin too, because the virtual person that was teaching her all the dances and etiquette for the ball that got put in her room was telling her how optimal her hormones were
were.
and how she was ready.
Wasn't that
ready
funny?
for it. And
When she was with Hal, is like, your oxytocin was really high. And he's like, well, I guess I better stay away because whenever I stay away from you, your oxytocin is high or whatever.
That's so funny.
I don't remember dopamine.
And then her telling Collin, weird that I'm optimal when I'm not taking any of these supplements that the elite are giving us, or the
Illum.
Finally, I feel like getting to the point where she starts to get trusting, right? She starts to get more trusting the more relationships she builds. But Lo, her something with her mom happened, and that she didn't want to become like her mom. She wanted to be successful in the clouds.
Yeah,
and I don't.
That was a huge goal for her.
I don't remember the full backstory, but she was definitely one that wanted to just be in the clouds. Ignorance is bliss, right? And they basically gave her a free ticket to that lifestyle if she exposed what Emeline had been telling her, and that is how they figured that out.
That was, I guess it wasn't really a surprise to me, but I was frustrated because I feel like Lo is a lot more shallow and not really maybe the deep, like the closest friend that she thought she was. Definitely. And their values were very different.
She definitely compared Lo to Abigail a lot, and I think she wanted Lo to replace
be that,
and to be this filler for what Abigail was for her.
Because Abigail stood up for what Emeline believed in actually deeply. So, but I also do feel like things escalated very quickly in this book. Like you said, I looked at the physical book that you had. I opened it halfway, a little more than halfway, and it was like, wow, that had already happened. Like the end of the book to me starts like 1/3 or 1/3 of the way through, and the last 2/3 of the book is just like, it just feels like this violent.
Well, and I mean, knowing it's the first book in the trilogy, it makes sense, but there are a lot of loose ends. At the end of the book.
I also didn't know it just came out, and I'm frustrated.
It ended very abruptly with a lot of loose ends, and things weren't really wrapped up. And
what do you think about the epilogue? Because I heard that some people think it's not Hal in the epilogue. They think it might be someone else. I assumed it was Hal, but some people online were saying that maybe the epilogue was written by someone else.
Interesting. But it definitely says Emeline is the reason why they're brought here, and I mean, it's the Reaper that they're talking to. So I mean, it's someone in love with Emeline.
Yeah,
I Collin the Reaper. Secretly.
Just kidding.
No, I don't know.
I think it's Hal.
I think it's Hal, and I think they assume he's the Reaper. I don't think he's the Reaper now, at the end of the book. I think that'd be too easy. I think that would be too easy to be able to just like, and I mean, I think there's so many working parts. They're not going to, by catching one person, they're not going to stop anything. There's so many people dedicated.
That's the other thing too, right? Like the Reaper may not be one person, but it's just, whoever's in charge, I guess.
I mean, similar to the way that Katniss is the Mockingjay, right? It's just more of
a movement.
So, I mean, what are predictions? What are some predictions? What are some things you're wanting to see more of? Going into book 2.
I don't know, because everything I thought would happen or everything I wanted to have happen has been pretty much shattered. I'm hopeful that we find out Hal's true intentions. Yes. Why he had to be looking into her beforehand, or what his thoughts were around that. Why he wrote what he wrote in that notebook. Okay, I think we'll get to see Nora's daughter.
Something else weird, I know this is backtracking a little bit, that we haven't talked about is that Hal was an elite. Yeah. And he chose to remove his chip himself, almost died, was healed. And that one of the signs with these people getting killed is that the elite chips are being removed. So that was a weird connection there, but also just Hal went to school with Collin, with Nora, with Gregory, with Philip. He knows these people. So that was something else that was kind of just barely touched on, that I think is going to have great importance moving forward. These relationships, the way they interconnect, these people that went to academy together, and then this divide that now has happened, the fall, right, of him going and becoming a major defect, which essentially he's not. And at the end of the book, he has his chip put back in, which that was heartbreaking for me, because
that's his freedom taken away, completely taken away.
That was heartbreaking to me. But yeah, that's one thing.
I wonder how they caught him.
I'm excited to see more of is just that those relationship dynamics, and who, I don't know. I think we're going to start to see more of a divide. We're going to see where people are siding. Yep. And
I wonder if we're going to see, because she's in contract with Collin, if they're going to follow through with that. I assume they will, and that she'll reproduce offspring with him, or at least one offspring with him. And
They'll
I
act
would be
like
very
they'll
interested
cover
to
it up and they'll act like nothing happened, right? That's what they do. They have to
exactly.
keep these
And then
images in
she's gonna
mind.
have to, you know, face her fate of moving forward in this relationship with this person that she doesn't, that neither one of them feel like they have this pull, right? This magnetic pull to each other, but they also don't trust each other.
Yes, the lack of trust.
Which is another trope I've noticed in books.
Yes.
They're drawn to each other, but they don't trust each other.
Yes.
But I
the
think we're gonna
enemies
see
to never trope, right?
It'll also be interesting to see if she does have offspring, whether or not they are elite or defects, because of the Illum and minor defect situation. I mean, her defect is something that, in my opinion, isn't something to be worried about. It's like a visual thing, and it's
well, and that's another thing we talked about that we think we'll see more of in book 2 is we don't really know the extent of other people's defects. I mean, we were mentioned, I mean, it's something internally, something mental. Are we going to see these defects being an important part of this movement? Like what are these defects?
And then will Nora and Gregory keep their promise to stay away from each other?
Again,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think that they're going to keep sneaking around because they love each other. But I think they're going to be more careful maybe than they have been in the past, because Philip's kind of been covering up for them. And I don't think he will anymore.
Done. I think he's given them their final warning, and they're going to have to figure it out.
But I know everybody's on this Hal's side, but ever since that betrayal, I'm not kidding, I really hope that she and Collin can have some kind of a good relationship, especially if they're going to be having kids together.
It would be cool if Collin was a big part of the movement and ends up this being a turning point for him, right? Seeing all this going down, being involved in all this, realizing I don't want to be a part of this.
Well, and I wonder also if he wasn't necessarily responsible for the death of that the whistleblower. I feel like he might have been forced into that by Tabitha or someone else, and he is very drawn by duty. Like he is very, to him, it's not necessarily the status, it's more of the duty of his responsibility in the role that he has as an Illum.
Well, and we didn't really get to learn much about how he ended up there,
right?
So
hopefully
it'll be interesting to see if he opens up more about that and talks about how at his young age how he even is a part of this. Do you know anything about the prequel that's coming out in March? Yes, so Ariel Sullivan is coming out with Beneath in March. And as far as I know, it happens before Conform. I was under the impression it was underground though. Like there was the blue, like it was major defects underground. So I thought it was still part of this world, right? Like it's not before the World War. Is that what you're meaning? But before, you think it's before Collin's time?
Yes.
My prediction,
before Collin and Emeline.
My prediction is it's going to be about Hal's parents.
Oh.
Because remember, Hal's parents were major defects who produced an elite son.
That's wild. I forgot about that.
But I don't know. I haven't read a lot of the synopsis. I've kind of been, I don't read a lot of synopsises before I read books typically, because I don't want anything spoiled. I want to go in blind. But just from what I have heard about it, that is what I think it's going to be about. Yeah. Because it's beneath. It's, underground.
Yeah. And the cover's blue.
But I am excited. I will be reading that. And that will have 3. So we've learned, you've told me this, I didn't know this, there will be 9 books
total. Yes.
Thank you, Ashley, for joining me on my first ever episode of Talk Books to Jamie.
It was a lot of fun. You've pulled me into this world. I have been reading like crazy. I've flown through a couple of other series, and I can't wait to talk more about it and interact with the polls and read the book of the month and just like have these discussions.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, it brings out things in ourselves that maybe we didn't realize that we were, or that things about ourselves that we don't like. How would I be in this world? How would I react? And what does that mean in my real life? And how can I be a better person? So that's what I get from all of these.
Books are really powerful at portraying different like human emotions, human ideas, and gets you really thinking about how to be better, how to do better, right?
Especially politically charged novels like this one, I think.
Yeah, that's one thing I always see, that like people say reading isn't political, but it is.
They are.
It is always reframing and remaking us seem differently about the world that we live in. So
yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we will be diving into in February more of the Ashen series by Demi Winters. So her book Dawn of the North comes out on February 3rd. I'm really excited.
So get reading if you haven't read the other books.
I know. Well, and I what I will probably do is read Dawn of the North and then go back.
Yeah.
And kind of touch on, skim through some of the others, and I want to come out with some content just revolving around the Ashen series. And so that's kind of what we'll be talking about on the next episode. It'll be fun. Thanks for listening.